In an intense showdown for a chance to save their season, the Golden State Warriors prevailed over the Los Angeles Clippers in epic fashion. No doubt a hard-fought victory, with many heroes stepping up for the Bay. Kristaps Porzingis and Gui Santos each dropped 20 points, Al Horford had an immensely clutch heat check with 4 triples in the fourth quarter, and of course, the chef cooked up a full-course meal, dropping 35 points on 52% field goal efficiency, along with nailing 7 out of his 12 3-point attempts. But perhaps the most impressive performance amongst the bunch was that of Draymond Green, who, along with the help of Coach Kerr, managed to stifle one of the league's best players in Kawhi Leonard. Entering this matchup, Kawhi was ranked 6th in the NBA in points per game at 27.9. Not only was this a career high, but this type of production had fans wondering if there was any sort of solution to contain the Hall of Famer, which Golden State was glad to demonstrate starting from the very first possession of the game. As we can see, Draymond immediately sets the tone by being upfront with his coverage on Kawhi, making sure there's no room to work with. When Kawhi gets the ball, LA runs a double drag, hoping to create separation. This doesn't go well since Green aggressively forces Kawhi left. In addition, Curry cuts off more space with his stunting, ultimately forcing Kawhi to give the ball up, and a turnover follows suit. The next possession, in my opinion, was excellent on-the-fly thinking from Green himself. LA is preparing another double drag. Green sees it coming, so he positions himself to prevent Kawhi from going over. In the meantime, he points out that Leonard is trying to slip under, preparing Porzingis and Santos to slightly nudge the superstar, giving Green enough time to get back. As a result, Dunn is the only one taking the shot, that being a triple, a very favorable outcome for Golden State. Speaking of which, Draymond and the Warriors were able to have success early on, due to a couple of Clippers in Chris Dunn and Jones Jr. being non-factors on offense. Their statistics might say otherwise, but as we see after Kawhi shakes loose of Draymond, Curry and Porzingis are totally fine with sagging off of the two in the hopes of providing extra support. A similar instance happens a few minutes later, with Coach Lue calling for another double drag involving the two. But again, both Curry and Podziemski aren't worried about what Jones or Dunn will do, and provide some effective stunting against Leonard, rendering the play call useless. As the cherry on top, Green simply goes under and properly contests the pull-up jumper. Even when a screen has finally been executed and Kawhi gets his mismatch, Jones Jr. is still left with a ton of room. Draymond willingly ignores the corner in order to help out Pods, and while this did eliminate any shot from Kawhi, Garland is able to sneak past Porzingis and hit the midi. Now this possession didn't have egregious sagging, but in my opinion it was the most effective defense to start the game as it involved the entire team. Coach Lue tried to incorporate a slip screen from Darius, but GP2 wasn't having it. Kawhi then chose to go left, which led to a brief stunt from Payton. This stunt helped Dray get back a little, but waiting for the driving Leonard were both Curry and KP. This led to all three basically forming an inescapable wall, so the Claw again has to give up the rock and another turnover is made. It's apparent that from most of the clips shown, the Warriors were intent on suffocating Kawhi as much as possible. Not just from Draymond matching the physicality, but also the amount of bodies they will throw in order to limit any openings. Pretty much stating that they're fine with making Leonard's teammates shoot and beat them just as long as they don't lose sight of him. Funny enough, that's how Kawhi was able to get his first few points, because when Draymond got left behind in transition, Kawhi took advantage and looked more free. That feeling didn't last for long though, since Golden State made sure to keep the pressure up. On this out of bounds play, Kawhi gets the ball for a post up. Green doesn't fall for the pump fake and instead presses his body up. During all of this, you have Podziemski down low to prevent the left, while GP2 is stationed on the nail. Overall, not a lot to work with, so Leonard chooses and converts an extremely tough fadeaway. So far, things are looking pretty good, but what about when Dray needs to rest? Well, the approach stays the same, only with Gary Payton II taking on the responsibility. They will still have their guys sag off with the intent to trap and double. Sometimes the help amplifies even more, knowing that Payton's not as physical, as he has a harder time fighting over the slip screens, resulting in higher chances of mismatches, something that didn't happen as much with Draymond. Fortunately, the scenarios weren't much different, a testament to the great strategy Coach Kerr was deploying. Although I do want to clarify that despite Golden State being successful in closing Kawhi off, the other Clippers were doing their part in making shots. This was a very significant reason for the game being close throughout. Garland, Mathurin, and Collins all did damage once they got the open looks. Yet the Warriors wouldn't budge. It seemed like when they realized their game plan was working, they just kept at it. Now, Coach Lue did attempt to retaliate in the second quarter, where instead of slip screens being utilized, LA would resort to the standard pick and roll to make things easier. However, the Warriors countered this to perfection, mostly thanks to the contributions of Dray and Big Al. On this set, Kawhi curls around the Lopez screen and waits for the pick. The pick is made and Lopez rolls, but Horford and Green time their blitz together in unison. The duo blitzing with their hands in the air completely shuts down the window of Lopez receiving the ball down low, pushing Kawhi to search for others, which he does when he passes it to Dunn in the corner. Horford gets back and Green continues to be glued to Leonard as Dunn's drive and turnaround gets denied. Coach Lue then says, alright, how about we have Leonard come off of pin downs and have him be a retriever instead of the handler? Well, it's still not enough because both bigs follow the claw real close, and since Lopez isn't the best roller, there's no worry for a lob threat either. Hence, another missed attempt, but Kawhi's teammates are there to take care of the mess. In spite of that, this blitzing strategy from both Warriors veterans superbly countered Lue's adjustment, as the opposing superstar who once looked like he could dominate in any given time was looking rather lost. Don't take my word for how nice things were going though. Coach Kerr also praised Dray and Al's execution.
Great job, Dray. Great defense. Way to go, Al. Defense looks great down there. Keep making him take tough shots. Keep defending without fouling.
But knowing what it would take to move on to the next stage, Golden State would have to up their game. Surprisingly enough, Kawhi hadn't committed a single turnover in the first half, and Golden State could never really gain any momentum to snag the lead back, due to LA's supporting cast. The silver lining through all of this is when it comes to crunch time, the Clippers need to rely on their number one, especially with Garland's tumultuous foul trouble. If you continue to shut down the claw, you shut down any chance of a devastating loss. For that to happen, the adjustments have to be even more perfect and a defensive takeover is needed. Fortunately for the Dubs, both couldn't have happened at better moments. Starting with the adjustments, it seemed like Coach Kerr fabulously implemented both man and zone defense. Take this possession for example. When Potts comes off of Dunn to help Draymond with blitzing, the rest of their teammates hover in a triangle-like zone. This brief zone puts an emphasis on leaving the non-shooters in favor of a possible drive or a Lopez post-up, none of which came to fruition due to the great positioning from everyone and the amount of pressure the double caused. I'm really a fan of Peyton not being too high up so he can take care of either Dunn or Collins, while Steph can provide an extra layer of support down in the paint. Here's another one, where Curry does a nice job deflecting the ball almost into the backcourt. Then Santos steps up, shutting off the lane individually. Meanwhile, Potts and Dray are comfortable in the middle of the area, so Lopez's rolling will be prevented. None are on their man, so to speak, giving off that zone feel. And how about that, a contested Leonard miss at the buzzer. I'll admit I'm unaware of the terminology used to describe this adjustment. The closest answer I could get was the triangle and two defense, a hybrid defensive scheme where both man and zone get combined. It might not be the most accurate name, but judging from the eye test, it makes sense. This theory gets extra validation when we look at the certain aspects that can ruin this type of defense. A team needs to get to the middle of the zone well, need to have a star big man, and reliable three-point shooters, none of which particularly apply well for the Clippers. The lack of a successful entry towards the middle is another takeaway that deserves more flowers in my eyes. Because of Leonard's vision being impaired by the doubles and traps, he has no choice but to aim for any opening he gets, which mostly comes from his teammates slipping by and heading to the middle. However, Golden State is purposefully giving up that space, so by the time Kawhi performs the overhead pass, everyone would have either stolen the ball or collapsed heavily on the roller. This occurred every so often, which is how we got Kawhi's turnover rate increasing. As for the promised defensive takeover though, you couldn't ask for a better representation from Draymond himself. For his defensive ability, it also felt like a hybrid display, where I would witness him drop rapid moments of his genius here and there, only to finish the deal by showcasing his one-on-one masterclass in the fourth quarter. This was my favorite case of his knowledge, where both sides are preparing for the out-of-bounds play. Even when Dray was initially tasked onto Kawhi, he noticed something was up and called for GP2 to come over. Perfect timing, as when the play ensues, Garland tries to sneak on the baseline. Dray covers some ground before telling Peyton to switch back onto DG, and before you know it, everyone's on their designated matchup. Horford and Dray do more blitzing, which forces Kawhi to stumble back. This was another instance of Green pre-switching to catch everyone off guard as he predicted the offense trying to manifest some sort of mismatch. This isn't the first time we saw Draymond pulling this off, as the notable GOAT in Daniel Lee uploaded a video of the Hall of Famer applying the same tactic to help win against Denver in their home opener. While he utilized this IQ to be victorious back then, this time his winning move was his perimeter skill set. After Curry missed a 3, much to our surprise, the Clippers had a chance to take control. Mathurin looks back at Coach Lue for the direction, which was to give Kawhi the rock. Once more, we see Dray here with the playoff-style defense, being up in Kawhi's face and getting away with a little grabbing. When Leonard gets the screen from Lopez, Horford stunts for a bit before recovering back. But as the big fella is recovering, Leonard sees this as an opportunity to strike. Yet Draymond shuts all of that down by shifting his feet to the right and absorbs all of the contact. He doesn't even budge when Kawhi tries to push him off. Green then masterfully matches Leonard's dribbling, shifting his body quickly as a counter for either direction. Hopeless, the claw left it up for Mathurin to do something, but he was unable to finish. And how about the official dagger, where both players are heading back in transition? Usually, it's tough to guess what one will do in this scenario, but the whole time, Green was able to predict that Kawhi was going to his left, especially when he exquisitely got back in his stance to slow the claw down for at least a second. Thanks to the blueprint and execution, the Dubs have done it. They neutralized one of the hottest players in the league, and victory was attained. When we look at the two halves of Kawhi's performance, you can really see the impact the experienced Warriors were able to make, particularly in the fourth quarter, where Kawhi only made one field goal. I wouldn't be surprised if Golden State pulls out a similar strategy for tonight's matchup, as some of Phoenix players aren't the best shooting-wise. Not to mention, their superstar in Devin Booker has also experienced familiar problems in the past. Nevertheless, we can't deny this was a defensive masterpiece from Draymond and Kerr, a stellar performance that silenced the majority of their doubters, as I'm sure there were plenty during the season alone. Well, that concludes this video. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, and thank you so much for watching. Have a great night.